What if I chop my finger off with this knife? Oh my God, I just had a sexual thought about my sister. What if I push my mom out in front of that car? Just kill yourself. You need to die. Drink the bleach. Poke your eye out with this pin. Come on, scream fire in front of everyone. Do it. Consistent thoughts like these are called intrusive thoughts. If you've ever had thoughts like these, you're not alone. And in this video, I will answer these questions. What are intrusive thoughts? Why do you have intrusive thoughts? What do they mean and what do they say about you and the kind of person that you are? And how do you stop them and get better? Hi, my name is Micheline Malouf and I am a licensed mental health counselor. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. I make videos weekly to help you better understand yourself and to help you take charge of your mental health. So what are intrusive thoughts? Intrusive thoughts are unwanted and distressing. They can pop up at any time and they are repetitive and overwhelming. Intrusive thoughts usually fall into some of these content categories. Intrusive thoughts about sex. Intrusive thoughts about sex usually include sexual thoughts about someone or something that we would never want to have those thoughts about. It could be a person, kids, our bosses, family members, animals, etc. Intrusive thoughts about your gender and sexual orientation. So you might question your gender and sexuality despite what you already know about yourself. You may find yourself consistently questioning if you know yourself. Intrusive thoughts about self-harm or harming someone else. These can be thoughts that don't make any sense to us. You might find yourself experiencing suicidal thoughts even though you're not depressed or sad, and you're afraid of what you might do with these thoughts. You might have thoughts of stabbing yourself or a loved one with a knife. You might think of harming a child or a pet. These thoughts horrify you because you don't want them and you feel scared and ashamed for even thinking about them. Intrusive thoughts about contamination and getting sick. You might wonder if you're clean enough or maybe have a severe illness. You might also have intrusive thoughts about getting someone else sick. Intrusive thoughts that are immoral or go against your religion. So these are thoughts that have you considering breaking religious rules or thoughts against your beliefs or maybe even thoughts against a specific religious figure. Intrusive thoughts about self-doubt. So doubting yourself and wondering if you're truly who you say you are. For example, you might question if you're really a good person or if you're just fooling everyone. You might wonder if you've done something horrible and can't remember it. Like, what if I ran over someone and then I kept driving and now I can't remember it? Sometimes intrusive thoughts are focused on things we care about, or they can be random. For example, a new parent might have intrusive thoughts about hurting their baby. Someone that loves animals or children may have horrible thoughts about harming them. Someone who loves traveling may have intrusive thoughts about the plane crashing or being responsible for some sort of aircraft malfunction. They can also be thoughts about someone you've never met or you just met once. You might see something around you and make a horrific story about what you wish might happen to them. For example, you may be at the deli getting a sandwich, and as the person is cutting the bread open, you might think, I hope they cut their finger off. As you already see in these examples, it can be scary to have thoughts like this. And because no one really talks too much about intrusive thoughts and they're not open with each other about what we're thinking all the time, they can become such a huge source of shame for people that suffer with them. So why do you have intrusive thoughts? Every single person in the world experiences intrusive thoughts. They are common and normal. But those with anxiety disorders might experience them way more intensely. People that don't struggle with anxiety disorders may have a thought and think, oh, that was a strange thought, and then move on. In comparison, when people with anxiety get intrusive thoughts, they might overthink them. As a result, it causes the intrusive thoughts to remain or intensify, which causes our anxiety to increase even more. Our mind and body then go into fight or flight. During fight or flight, our mind is hard at work making risk assessments and notating everything that could go wrong. It's constantly scanning the environment for potential danger. The problem is that although we have thousands of thoughts a day, we tend to focus on the ones that surprise us and are ego dystonic, meaning that these thoughts go against who we are, our values, and our beliefs. Our intrusive thoughts distress us because we tend to want to make meaning out of them. So we begin engaging with them, questioning why we're having these thoughts in the first place. We might start thinking things like, what do my intrusive thoughts mean? What if other people found out about these thoughts? Does this make me a horrible person? When we start asking ourselves those questions or try to make meaning out of these thoughts, we engage with them. We give them more time and more attention, therefore increasing our anxiety. This increase in anxiety implies that our mind and body are perceiving more danger. Therefore, the intrusive thoughts keep intruding or maybe even worsening. This causes us to question ourselves even more, and the cycle continues. So, what do they mean? What do these thoughts say about you and the kind of person you are? Intrusive thoughts don't mean anything. They don't say anything about you, who you are, your values, or what you actually want to do. They are thoughts. Thoughts are not facts, and they do not control you. So, how do you stop them and get better? Let me start with this metaphor. Let's imagine that your intrusive thoughts are like a big, ugly, and super strong monster. You don't like this monster, but at some point it showed up and it started taunting you. It wanted to play tug of war with you, and it can certainly win, but you want to destroy it. The monster is holding a rope on one end, and you're holding the other end of the rope. And in between the both of you, there is a huge cliff with hot lava. You definitely don't want to fall over it. You want to control the monster, so you keep pulling, hoping that he can lose and finally die over the cliff. But every time you pull, the monster pulls with the same force. No matter how hard you pull, you don't seem to even gain an inch in getting the monster closer to the cliff. You feel stuck and drained, and you begin to think that you can never get out of this game alive. But let's consider this. What if you didn't want to fight the monster anymore? What if you were willing to let go of the rope and just quit the game? Although it would be great and feel good to win, the monster is just as strong as you are. So no matter how hard you pull, it will always tug at the same strength, making it a never-ending game. So consider this. Have you ever beat this monster before, or are you always stuck in this game of tug-of-war? When we drop the rope and choose to quit the game, the monster may stick around. But you will be free to do whatever you want, even if the monster keeps begging you to play. So how do we drop the rope? How can we be okay with letting go when these thoughts are so scary? Here are some tools to help you diffuse or disconnect from engaging with your thoughts. My first tip is, next time you have an intrusive thought, notice it and remind yourself, my brain is making a risk assessment. It's simply showing me what could go wrong. Then notice the thought and say, I'm having the thought, insert intrusive thought. For example, I'm having the thought I want to drive myself off of this road. I'm having the thought of stabbing my friend with this knife. This will help create a separation between you and your mind and remind you that these are thoughts. Number 2, one other tool that I use that seems to go over really well with a lot of my clients is to give your brain a name. I named mine Maya. So next time you have these intrusive thoughts, I want you to thank your brain for the risk assessment and for the warning. For example, if you think to yourself, drive yourself off the side of the road, go crash your car, you can say, thanks for the warning, Maya. I know I have a lot of control right now, and I know you're trying to warn me of what could happen. This will help remind you that your brain is actually on your side, and it also creates space between you and the thoughts. Number 3, stop the thought stopping and thought replacing and challenging. I know that a lot of therapists and therapy modalities out there teach you thought stopping and replacing, but in the long run, this does not work. Our mind does not like to think in negatives, and the more we tell our mind not to do something, the more it will want to do it. I will discuss this in a future video, but for now, remember that any tool that tries to stop or replace the thoughts will only increase the shame that you live with for having these thoughts in the first place and make you feel bad for not being able to rid yourself of these thoughts. The truth is, we can't stop the thoughts. We can't control what thoughts pop into our mind or what thoughts stay out of our mind. We can accept that they are thoughts and that they exist, and we can choose to not give them meaning and not focus on them or engage with them. Over time, you will find that you will have reduced anxiety and not go into fight or flight each time you have these thoughts. Remember how I said before that everyone experiences intrusive thoughts from time to time? The difference between those with OCD or anxiety and those that don't struggle with OCD and anxiety is that those who don't struggle with anxiety have the ability to let their thoughts be. They don't stop or replace or challenge the thoughts. And if they did, they would probably also go into this cycle. It's likely they will then pathologize the thoughts and make them worse if they did engage in thought stopping, replacing, and challenging. My final tip is to be patient with yourself and remember that all of these tools are helpful when implemented daily. Don't have the expectations for the thoughts to go away. Instead, have the expectation that they will no longer control you and your life. I hope that you learned something new about intrusive thoughts. I hope it normalized them for you, and I hope that you found these tips helpful. Again, I will make more videos in the future with other tools that can be extremely helpful to you. But for now, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment box below and let me know what does work for you. What do you do if you struggle with intrusive thoughts that has helped you when they show up for you? You never know who you might be helping. So drop them in the comment box below, and I will see you in the next video.